nobody panic, but I think this might be the greatest roller coaster ever built.
Before I even get into this quote-unquote analysis for Falcon's flight, I just want to address some things real quick. Trust me, I know the corruption that is going on in Saudi Arabia. A hobby of mine that you guys probably don't know about is I'm very fascinated with Middle Eastern history. I know what's going on there today is extremely corrupt, and it's just not right. Just like a lot of things going on in the Middle East right now are just not right. But I want you guys to know that I'm not here to discuss politics. I'm not here to discuss deep governmental issues. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to cover this ride that is being built in that country, and that is all. Now, let's take a look at Falcon's flight coming to Six Flags Qiddiya in Saudi Arabia. This coaster has always heavily fascinated me. If you guys remember a long time ago, I made a few videos covering this ride when the first rumors were spread. And by rumors, I'm talking about that awful Planet Coaster looking animation. But now, this thing is nearly, if not halfway built. It's looking pretty good, so let's talk about it. The stats for this ride that have been released are it's going to have a 640-foot height that is going to be reached on the top of that cliffside. The drop itself off of the cliffside is going to be 519 feet. The top speed it's going to reach at the bottom of that drop through the LSM launch is going to be 157 miles per hour. And of course, probably the most impressive part about this ride is the length, 13,943 feet of track. You have got to be kidding me. So this ride, all in all, is going to be the biggest coaster the world has ever seen, and it's not even close. It's going to be 184 feet taller than Kingda Ka, which is the current tallest coaster. It's going to be 7 miles per hour faster than Formula Rossa, which is the current fastest coaster. And it's going to be 5,810 feet longer than Steel Dragon 2000, which is the world's longest coaster as of right now. So this ride is just straight up impressive. There's no other word to describe it. Of course, this ride is being built by Intamin, and they classify it as an EXA coaster. And that's just a classification for a ride built over 600 feet tall, specifically a roller coaster. It's going to have 6 trains with 4 cars per train. Damn! The lead car of the trains are going to have 1 row with 2 seats. So the trains are going to seat 14 people total, which might sound crappy, but with 6 trains running, I'm sure it'll be completely fine. Another thing to note, the trains are actually staggered like Diamondback, except they're not pushed quite as far out as the B&M Hyper stagger trains, but it'll still be pretty cool. These trains are of course using the next-gen over-the-shoulder restraint lap bars designed by Intamin. There's windshields on these trains, on each car actually, and of course that's just to protect people's faces from the sheer speed and sand that's going to be kicking up from this ride. There's LED lights on the sides of these trains, so they'll be able to light it up during the night. And I didn't go to IAAPA, but I was told that these trains up close looked massive. And I was also told that the wheels look huge. I think these trains look absolutely stunning. They're sick. Now, the park of Six Flags Qiddiya is currently under construction, and no opening date has been confirmed yet. And I have a feeling we're not going to get one for a very long time. However, if you've seen construction pictures, this thing is coming along quickly. And like I said, Falcon's flight looks to be nearly halfway done if it isn't already. In my top 10 new for 2024 coasters, I actually had Falcon's flight at number 1. Obviously, part of the reason why I put it there was for fun, but another reason is because there's no telling when this thing is actually going to open. The construction is moving along so quickly that it's not that far out of reach to say that they could start testing trains later this year. Alright, enough talk, let's get into the layout. So this coaster is going to start out with an LSM lift. It's very similar to Maverick if you've ridden that coaster. And this is going to be a really cool start to the ride. The entire first half of this ride alone looks better than 80% of the world's coasters. This LSM lift is going to be followed up with a twisted drop. And if I had to guess, this is probably going to be somewhere between 150 and 200 feet tall. After this, Falcon's flight goes straight into a little airtime hill, and then a twisted airtime hill, and this is followed by a really cool looking sideways wave turn. All three of these elements are probably going to give really good airtime. And after this entire first half is finished up, and it's really a first third, because this ride is so insanely long, it's going to level out and you're going to begin ascending toward the cliff. This ascension is done through a LSM launch, and Intamin says that it's going to reach about 100 miles per hour by the time it's reached the top of this cliffside. Like, can we just think for a second how insane that's going to feel? The max height is going to be reached at the top of this cliff, which is about 640 feet. And there's this little sidewinding section at the top. It's very similar to Iron Rattler's quarry wall section. There's this little off-axis airtime hill that just hangs over the cliff, and it looks stupid. That's going to be a really disorienting feeling. After this, there's some little bunny hops and a few turns, and then it crawls near the giant drop. Now, when it drops off of this cliffside, it's looking like it's going to be about 200 to 300 feet before it starts to do that really long, drawn-out level out. And even though it's not going to just be one giant drop down 600 feet, the fact that the drop before the LSM level out is going to be 200 to 300 feet, that's still insane. Are you kidding me? But like I said, it flows into a gradual pullout, and it's followed by the third and final LSM launch. And this is where it catapults you to that top speed of 157 miles per hour. This is why the windshields are there. It then throws you up into this massive, and I mean massive, airtime hill. This thing has to be close to 500 feet tall. If it really is that tall, that means this is going to be the largest drop on the ride. And if it is that tall, that also means this hill alone is going to have a larger drop than King Dakar. After this airtime hill, it's going to go into some really long and drawn-out S-curves. It makes me think of i305's S-turns if they were enlarged by 10 times. I couldn't even give you an estimate of how fast you're going to be going at this point. It's absolutely going to be over 100 miles per hour. This is going to be insane. Following these turns, you're going to go into a giant turnaround, and the forces you're going to be getting here are going to be immeasurable. And after this, Falcon's flight takes one final turn over the midway entrance, and then it flies straight into the brake run. No clue how fast it's going to be going when it slides into these brakes. And that is Falcon's flight. This thing's going to be nuts. There's no other way to put it other than the fact that this thing is going to be nuts. This ride actually looks like a good ride. Is it going to be number one in the world when it opens? Honestly, I'm leaning toward a yes. I don't want to say that, and I'm not going to jump to conclusions because these are animations. It's not even done being built, so it would be stupid of me to call the shots and say this is probably going to be the best coaster in the world. But I'm telling you right now, if there's a ride in this world that could beat i305, this is looking like the one. And even for other people who have a different number one, those who love Iron Gwazi, Steel Vengeance, The Voyage, the 4Ds, I think we can all agree to a certain extent. We look at this ride and we're just like, how could it not be the best coaster in the world? An Intamin over 600 feet tall with the largest airtime hill in existence, hitting speeds that are faster than Formula Rossa. If there were no animations, if there were no layouts, if there were no construction, and if it was all just rumors and speculation, I would think it's the most absurd idea ever. But they've done it again. I trust Intamin, and I believe they are going to come through with this ride, and it's going to be amazing. Now, a lot of people have worries and concerns. I've seen it over the years. No matter how much construction is done, there's still going to be people who doubt this ride being built. And I mean, construction is almost halfway done, so I don't know where they're getting this knowledge from. But regardless, there's still people who don't believe it's going to be completed. And to a certain extent, I can understand why. But for a lot of the reasons people give, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, here's some reasons why I don't think this ride is going to flop. And by flop, I mean never finish getting built. Or opening at that. Again, not talking about politics here. I'm not getting into that. I'm aware of the corruption. But I want to state the fact that the Saudis are incredibly rich. You guys have to understand this. They are some of, if not the richest people in the world. And this is a mega project literally funded by the Saudis themselves. Another reason why I think it's inevitable that this thing is going to be completed and open. The train was shown at IAAPA. Why would Intamin showcase the train if this is just another ride they're predicting is going to be a flop? It's going to be torn down halfway through construction. Why would they do that? This seems legit. I think anyone with common sense knows something about this seems legit. And of course, the obvious one, the construction is well underway. The last I've seen pictures of the construction, it looks like it's about halfway done. And the park itself has had a lot done to it just within the past half year alone. Now, what is it going to be like for the maintenance workers at this park? I'm sure a lot of people have thought about this before, but imagine this thing just breaks down. Or let's say they have to evac. Maintenance is going to go on a trip. Let's just leave it at that. So this has been my coverage for Falcon's flight and all of the recent updates, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I want to know what you guys think of Falcon's flight though, so please let me know in the comments. I think this ride looks absolutely insane, and I do believe it's going to be built and finished, but I do want to hear your thoughts, all of you. You guys are the best, you guys are amazing, and I love interacting with you guys. So, once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys later. Goodbye.